Hey guys, my name is Blinkies. Today I wanted to make a quick video here, kind of going through the auction house, more specifically around pedigrees, and maybe just also just talking about the trade house in general. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. Off the bat, if you just kind of come to your home, they'll have some, recommended gear for the build. This is just a really easy and quick way for you to find the stuff that you're looking for. For whatever the applied build you have is. So for mine, it's, mana stacker legendary gear that it's showing right now. Okay. It's going to show a lot of stuff here on the side. A lot of this you can kind of see takes you to the side ring over here, right? So you can either click on the icon, right, or you can click on something over here. That can be a little bit confusing early on, totally understandable. Probably just the most useful thing here is just the search bar, right? But you can always come in here to legendary gear and, if you want to find some int gloves, or look through all of these to see what the options are, you can do so. Okay. Um, there's lots of destinies, just lots of different things in here to kind of look through. I would really encourage you spend a few minutes kind of coming through here to show a few more things. Something that a lot of people find really convenient is just adding stuff to your favorites, right? So, or to your collection, right? So we just added this random helmet to our collection, right? Usually, what you'll do is you'll come through and you'll add. In this case, I've got a bunch of pedigrees in here, right? So I'll go through and I'll add all of the options that make sense, or all of the options with good pricing. Um, you know, that kind of line up with what I'm doing. Okay. So I'll go through, favorite them all, review my build again, and then I'll buy the one that makes the most sense, right? So this is a really easy and convenient way. You can come in here, you can remove them. This doesn't by any means, reserve them for you. Something could still pop up in here as purchased and you kind of lose out on it. But, if something's like extra pricey, sometimes it'll stay there for a day or two. You can, save up all your money and buy it. Okay. Something else that's really helpful is to come through your history. This is where you're going to claim everything that you look at. This also, will tell you what you sold stuff for. That can be helpful. Right now I'm farming a lot of Keegan, so I can come through and just see what I was pricing stuff at before, or maybe I sold, a Spark of the Moth Fire the other day. Some of the economy in the game really changes depending on your time zone and how it relates to, people on the other side of the world, right? So we'll see, for me, I have cheaper prices in the morning, and at night everything is super expensive. So a lot of times I'll log on in the morning, buy all of my materials for running like Keegan, for example, and then maybe later that day I'll come through and actually purchase them. So that's, something to keep in mind when you're playing the game. If you're getting towards the end of the night, depending on your, time zone, maybe hold off on purchasing that stuff till the next day. Okay. In talking a little bit more about the pedigrees, I can maybe even kind of show, my pedigrees that I have here. So you can tell by just looking at these two, I had pinned in my search defensiveness. I wanted to make sure I had that specific keyword. Okay. Um, I went through and gave it a bunch of other options for stuff that does work, right? So you can see on a lot of these, right, like defensiveness and then no loose ends. Okay. This is one example. I currently have no loose ends on my belt. Okay. So this is a blending that I got, no loose ends. This is another way that you can get a keyword, right? But kind of the key and in doing your searches is knowing what viable options you have for keywords. A lot of written guides are going to tell you what the best ones are to have for my build, right? Something that's really, really useful because it gives additional attack speed is trade-off. So this is a really good one to have. Maybe, Falling Leaves is also really good as well. No Loose Ends is obviously good. I've got that on my belt. But what you might be able to do if you're looking for a few options is come into the advanced tab. Okay, you're going to come to the legendary slate. You can come here, select the item base. In this case, it would be the pedigree of the gods. Okay, this is the pedigree that we all talk about. And then for search criteria, let's just say, kind of following the same example that I gave, let's say I want defensiveness. Okay, I want that for sure. So I'm going to put this in here as you know, as I for sure want that on my pedigree. What I can then do is for all of the options that might make sense, I can add a conditional group. So I've already, got ones in here that are, applied. And this is something else you can do is you can set up a few different options. So this is the one I'm going to work with. Okay, this condition group. Okay. So you can come in here. So I've got mana, gale, loose ends. The other one was like trade-off. Was the other good keyword. There's going to be others in here as well. My mind's going blank right now, but there's other options, and what you can do is you can say, yes, I want any one of these in the group, right? A pedigree can have up to 2 keywords on it, okay? So what this reads as, I want defensiveness for sure, and then I want any one of these 3 options. We can search for that, and here's all the options. So what this allows you to do, right, is you can say, hey, there's a solid option. This is a really good price for 18 or 1500 that just works with my build. Mana doesn't make a ton of sense. So we would probably, we would likely have that removed because that actually doesn't make a ton of sense in the condition group. But all of like that one option, this 1888 option, this is incredibly cheap for what it is. Both of these are really cheap right now for some reason. You could take that, pedigree, that 1888 pedigree, and then instead of having no loose ends on my pedigree, I could come here. Whoop, you don't have to go into the Oasis to do it. I just misclicked. You can come over here to the blending rituals and swap out your no loose ends for trade-off. Actually, you can't do it for trade-off, but there are other options in here. So maybe I could do Gale instead, or I could do Frostbite, and this is another good one. If you're maybe more of like a spellcaster, you could do like Bunch, but hopefully you get the idea. Check your options, weigh all of them, see what makes the most sense. There's lots of good options in here. Like we just saw, not every single one is, but you can kind of balance the pedigree here with maybe like your blending and then with your talents, right? So the other thing to keep in mind with the talents is that like like the trade-off was the big major reason I took this talent tree, to start with. But I'm looking at getting a new pedigree here pretty soon, so we might be moving over into Lich, which gives us off the beaten track. Okay, really solid skill. So I might be swapping this. In that case, maybe I get trade-off on my pedigree. Okay, so I would go for defensiveness and trade-off on my pedigree, and then that allows me to trade off of the Ronin talent tree to get off the beaten track. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and we will go from there. All right, thanks, guys.